Alright, today we are painting these cookies, which I have titled Christmas cookies. I know they're blues and teals and greens and creams, but this is the colors that I have for my Christmas decorations. So that's why I titled them Christmas cookies. They've got a little bit of bling in there. You can't really, I'm getting quite a bit of reflection, but there is some glamour dust bling going on right there on the frosting area of those cookies. I've already varnished this with a gloss varnish, so it's very shiny. So this is going to be just a fun project, and it doesn't have to be Christmas cookies for you. It can be any cookies you want. Let's get started. Alright, to start this design, let me tell you what I did for the background. It's just a basic base coat here. I first of all, this is raw wood here. So you want to sand it lightly first. Remove your sanding dust. Apply 1 to 2 coats of multi-purpose sealer on raw wood. I generally apply 2 coats. On masonite or any other kind of wood, I apply 1 coat. Lightly sand it. Your edges are going to be the roughest, so if you don't want them rough, then give them a nice little sanding. Okay, after you sand it, I applied the multi-purpose sealer with a dampened artist sponge, and then when it was dry and after I lightly sanded it and wiped it down, I base coated with the same sponge, winter blue, 2 coats on the background. So, and then I traced on my pattern lines. So we're going to zoom in here and get started just adding some base coats here. Now, I am titling this piece Christmas Cookies just for my benefit because I am changing all of my Christmas decorations this year to be teals and light blues and silvers and white. So that's what color I'm painting on here, and that's why I've titled it Christmas Cookies. Now, you could name it beach cookies or whatever, because it's kind of got that theme, that blue and white silver kind of theme. But it's going to be Christmas cookies for me, so I will display it. I'll be able to display it all year long because my living room is a very light blue color, but I'm mostly making it for Christmas because I'm going to put some glamour dust on it at the end and sparkle it up. We're going to have 1 silver cookie in here, and the rest are going to be blue and light colors. So my first cookie is turquoise blue, and I hope that I got all colors that are not retired colors. This color is neutral buff. And we're just doing the cookie parts. We'll come back and do the frosting stuff in the middle, and it will take 2 coats, so I'm only going to do 1 coat on camera here, and then go off camera and apply the second coats when it's all dry, and then we'll come back and get to base coating. Now this is a pretty quick little design here. It shouldn't take a whole lot of I'm making this fairly easy, so it can be considered a beginner project. Or something quick and fast if you want a gift, or you just need that quick decoration for your home that it's like you just needed something in some particular space and you didn't know what color you wanted or design that you wanted to put there. This color is Shoreline. This is a brand new color for 2018. And by the way, the surface came from Bear With Us, and I will make sure you get all that information. Now, the center cookie is the one I'm going to make silver. So I'm going to base coat it in with Gray Sky. And I just think this color combination is so beautiful, and it's so soothing and so peaceful. I love it. Okay, our next color is Bahama Blue. Now you could do this with reds and greens. You just need your base color, a color for shading, and then white for highlighting. So the next color is going to be light buttermilk. And all of the cream inside the middle of these cookies is going to be white. So and I'm using, what size brush am I using? I'm using a 12 flat brush, but you could certainly go to a smaller one if that works best for you. I try to encourage you to use the largest brush that you can use that will fit in the space, because first of all, it takes you less time to paint it, and it helps you learn good brush control and how to make that big brush fit in any size area basically that you need it to, but it's mostly to keep you from having to work so hard. Alright, our last color here is Salem Blue. I think this color might have been new last year. No, it's got an older label on it, so it's been here for a while. Okay. Now I'm going to go to a round brush, a full round, to put my white in here. So all of the middles get this color. This is our cream filling. Now these particular cookies are called macarons, completely different from macaroons, because macaroons are a coconut type of cookie, and I had to go research these cookies before I painted them, because I watched a baking championship for kids, the Junior Baking Championship on TV, and they made these cookies, and I thought, oh, those cookies look delicious, I want to know more about them. And so they are a French cookie, I believe. And they are made from egg whites and sugar. Macaroons are made completely different, so they are pronounced different. This is a macaron. Macaron, however you correctly pronounce it. I believe they were brought to Italy from a French chef, but it's been a while since I read that, so don't quote me on that. But when I went to research, I'm like, oh my gosh, you can make these in so many different bright colors, and the cream filling inside can be so many different things. It can be jams or buttermilk or buttercream frosting, not buttermilk, buttercream frosting, or just some kind of cream filling. I don't know that I'll ever make one of these cookies, but they sure look mighty tasty. Alright, finishing up the last one here, and then I'll go off camera and get my second coats on so we don't have so much repetitive stuff here. So you can see how everything's pretty much faded down in there. One coat is not going to bring these cookies to life, so we got to get a second coat on here. Before I go, I just want to bring over a piece that I painted with these cookies, but I painted them with bright colors, and these are all base coated in with some of the 2018 new colors. The background is new colors. So I do have this packet available on my website, but I did not make a video for this one. I'm just making a video for this one. So I might include the instructions for the paint colors for this one in the packet with this one. So, you know, you can do whichever cookies that you want. But it's basically the same way, just different colors. So I'm going to go get my second coats on now. Okay, let's start shading here. Make sure you spritz your palette with water, so you can have water to pick up when you're floating. The first one I'm going to shade, and we side load. We have water and paint in our brush, and we work it in. Nice soft color here. We're going to go around the entire outside perimeter of this cookie. And we've got to come in and do a little crusty edge on here yet, so I'm going to shade this one, and I think I might do that to all of them really quick. So you'll need to have each of the base colors out, which you should still have out. And some white. Put a little bit more white out. Small round brush. And I'm going to dip into my base color and dip into some white. So I've got them both on my brush. And I'm going to just dab this. I want to see some of that blue too, so if you're not seeing the blue, then you might have to go back and forth picking up color so that you can see both. But we're going to go right along the edge of each one of these cookies. Let me zoom you into this one. A little bit more blue. I think my blue's drying up. Alright, there we go. Nice little crusty edge there, which is going to be lighter. When these cookies bake, they have this very crunchy edge all the way around, but when you bite into it, it's supposed to be like a not a macaron. It's supposed to be like meringue when you bite into it. So we just want to give it this little bit of a crusty edge, and it doesn't have to be perfectly straight. Do not make it perfectly straight because, you know, the edges are going to be irregular. So we're going to do that along here with every single color. So I'll do one more. And this one might be a little bit more challenging too, because the white is going to want to blend in with our cookie center. But get a crusty edge on there as best you can. The white is what's going to help it. So, ooh, where the blue, picked up some blue that was in the white. Yeah, I'm just going to leave it on there. Alright, let me go to the other side. And just dibby dab tap. Every one of these cookies is going to get this. And then when we shade our cookies, we'll be able to make that little crusty edge pop out a little bit more. Okay, I'm going to go off camera and finish the rest of them because they are all done exactly the same way. Alright, so all of my areas are done. We are going to continue on shading. I've already done this one with the bright blue, so the next one we're going to shade with some honey brown. Spritz some water on my palette so I have it handy. Alright, so we're going to go along the outer edges and down here. Nice soft float. I'm going to come back after I get all the outer edges done on this one. Well, I might go ahead on this one and show you what I'm going to be doing here. You want nice soft color here, so try not to get super hard lines on this float. So soften it in your brush with a little bit of water so that grab my mop brush and remove just a little bit of that. This is already dry, so I can't remove it. So along the little crusty edge that we made here, we want to put a little bit of this color. So we want to go just kind of jagged line along that edge right there. And we'll do the same thing over here. And a little bit on this side. I just want to do like a hit and miss along that edge. Kind of help define that edge a little bit more, and I can see that this one's going to need a little bit more white on it. So let me go back to this one here and do it. Just little jaggedy lines there. I'm touching and not touching. I'm moving my brush along and putting it down in some places and not in others. So that's what I call a hit and miss movement. So that one looks much better for its little crusty edge. I think we might widen that float just a tiny bit along this edge. Looks much better. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one with some Victorian blue. And that might be a little bit darker than what I want, so let me switch colors on this one. I think I'm going to switch to a turquoise blue. Alright, let me try some turquoise blue, because that Victorian blue was going to be way too blue, and I need it to be more on the turquoise side here. Oh, that's much better. I like that. This one, outer edge. We're going to come back and add a little bit more to these floats, because I want them to be a little bit at the bottom, not so much at the top, a little bit wider. Come up onto the cookie a little bit more. Along our edges here. Kind of a wiggly line. I might put some of the base color back inside that one because I feel like it got too dark with that float. Okay, the gray one, we're going to use graphite. To the edge of the cookie there. I'm going to mop that just a little bit. Sometimes I use my finger to just soften it back and pull some of the paint out while it's still a little bit wet. And that looks like it's getting a little bit too dark. put some of the base color back over there because I want in the end this one to be a silver one, so I don't need it to be super dark. So I can really mix a lot of water in with this paint to lighten it up. Okay, this one is going to be teal green, and this is a pretty dark color, so I really want to use some water in my brush and really thin this down and work it into my brush. The more I work it in with that water, the lighter and softer it gets because the water will thin the paint down and get it a little bit sheer. And that might be a little bit too sheer, so let me grab a little bit more paint. There we go. That's a little bit better. We'll go to the other side. A little dabby dabby. Okay, looking good. Okay, the next one we're going to use antique white. I'm just working it into my brush a little bit. This is a nice light color here, so it won't make it too dark, kind of like that one did. Might have to get a different shading color for that because the honey brown is too orange for me, and I don't really want oranges on here, so I'm going to re-base coat this one. And okay, our last one. We're going to try some sapphire. Our blue here. Hit and miss here. Okay, that one looks pretty good. I really like that color. So this is the one that I want to change the color on, and then put a little bit more gray back inside that one, because I might end up changing my mind and making that one another light color so I can have all blues and lights. So a let me get this base coated in, and I'm going to think about this one. So when I come back, you might be surprised. That might be a different color. Okay, so we came back, and I changed my shading here, or my color here, to bleach sand and shaded with driftwood. So I want to repeat the shading, especially at the bottom where it needs to be darker. I'll switch to an angle brush here, which is not a brush that I normally use, but I needed to get a little bit better control down here in the bottom. And I want to bring that up just a tiny bit. And then the next one, I changed the shading color to fawn. This one, I changed the shading color to turquoise blue, which is the base color of this one. Just want to, if you didn't bring it up very far with that first shading, we want to bring it up a little bit on the bottom of the cookie. Give it a little bit more weight at the bottom. I might have to repeat that one just to get a tiny bit darker. Okay, this one is shaded with driftwood. And I like this color balance a whole lot better, so driftwood. And your second float will also help smooth out any bumps that you might have in there. Okay, this one was teal green. Mop that choppy mess there. Okay, and this one is antique white. Need a bit more paint. Okay, and the last one was sapphire blue. Too wide right there. Okay, these are looking pretty good. Before we go on to our next step here, let's take some more white on our crusty edges here and tap a little bit back in there. I feel like we've kind of lost that edge a little bit. Don't just make dots. Be kind of wiggly about it. Be up on the tip so you don't lay down a whole lot of paint. Like I just did right there. That's a lot of paint. Okay, so we got our little crusty edge right there. And I think I'm going to shade next to those little crusty edges. Just one more time. I just want to put a little bit on the cookie side. We're going to come back and do something else on the other side here in a second. So I'm just taking the toe of this brush and just dabbing some right next to that area. With your shading color, the color that you shaded with. It's going to help form that a whole lot better. Let's see what color is next. This color, driftwood. Can't remember what color I used there. Went totally blank. Okay, teal green on the next one. Just up on the very tip of the brush. So you just need a little tiny bit of paint on it. And antique white is the next one. And then sapphire blue for the last one. So now what we want to do is get our base color, and we're going to shade the inside part of the cookie with our base color. So let me get a little bit of that out and I'll show you what I mean. Each one will be done the same way with their base colors. I'm just getting a little tiny bit of each one of these colors out. I'm putting them out in the order that they go, because that will just be a lot more helpful. And this one, we might have to add a little bit of the shading color in with it, because I'm not sure it's going to show up. So this is our base color. So our first first one will be turquoise blue. So what we want to do is shade along the bottom edge of the cookie, along the top edge of the cookie. It doesn't have to be as dark on the top as what it needs to be on the bottom. We want it to have a little bit more weight at the bottom. And then we'll put a little bit, maybe not quite that wide. So we'll stay up on the tippy toe and kind of go along the edge of the cookie on the white filling part. I want to bring this up as much as I brought the shadow, the darkening on the sides. Okay, the next one is our natural buff, and again, I'm not sure if this is going to be dark enough to be seen. So let me grab just a little bit of the shading color. I'm going to mix that in. Probably 2 natural buff to 1 fawn. And we'll just darken that a little bit. And then we'll go along the edge here. Water. Up on the tippy toe so you don't cover up all of your white, and if you get a little more in there than you want, take the water edge of your brush and just soften that out. Okay, that one looks pretty good. The next one, that shoreline, that new color from DecoArt. It's a beautiful color. I really like it. I hope it stays around a long time. It's a very pretty color. Up on the tippy toe. A little bit of water in my brush would be helpful. The water in your brush is going to help this be a soft little color that's going to go in there. If you don't have the water in your brush mixed in with the tip, just a tiny little dot, that's why I like to spray my palette, and that's going to make it just nice and smooth. Okay, this one, driftwood. So I'm going to mix a little bit of driftwood in with my base color. Again, that's probably about a 2-to-1 mix. 2 colors of the base color to 1 driftwood. Sure I dipped into the right color because that looks too orangey. So I'm going to remove that. And try that again. Driftwood. And the base color. And let's try this. That looks much better. Okay, then go along this edge and along that edge on the inside. Don't forget the top. I just about forgot the top. These cookies are pretty easy to paint other than constantly cleaning out your brush for the next color. Okay, our next one is Bahama Blue. So walk it up about as far as you walked up the shadow. A little bit on the top. And then tippy-toe down the edge. And the ceiling fan's making so much noise, sounds like it's about to fall out of the ceiling. I don't know if the camera's picking that up or not, but it's loud. Okay, our next color, I'm going to mix some of the antique white in with the light buttermilk, because this is a very light color. I'm afraid if we went straight light buttermilk, we would not see this color at all. Tip that toe right along there. That could be a little bit darker. I might add just a touch more antique white in there. There we go. That looks better. Okay, and our last one is the Salem blue. A bit more paint. Walk it up. Do the top. And then a little bit down the edges. Looks pretty good. I think I'm going to come back a little bit on the bottoms because I think they need that extra little bit. And we'll just go with the color that we shaded with. Just a quick little bit over it, not very much. Let's see, this one, driftwood. And the teal green. Just doing a little bit on here, don't get carried away. Staying at the bottom. That helps. So now we're going to highlight on them. Sorry, I didn't have the camera on. I'm doing a highlight now, and I'm just side loading some white, and I'm going like this, flipping the brush over, doing like a back-to-back float, but I want to make sure both edges of the float remains kind of soft. And I'm just going to go through this area of the cookie. Come back and brighten because this first one's going to fade down in there quite a bit. Got water in my brush, so it's helping me keep the paint nice and wet so that I can move it. but that's also going to make it fade down in there a little bit, so. So we want to get that dry, and we'll come back and repeat that and get it just a little bit brighter. This cookie right here, I'm a little concerned about. So, I don't know. I might have to change the color because I use light buttermilk, and it's so close to white that I cannot see my highlight here. So the highlight's going to be almost impossible for me to see on that one. So I'll have to make a decision there what I want to do. Okay, so what I decided to do was change it to buttermilk from light buttermilk. Keep the shading color the same. That's going to get me a little bit better. I'll have to come back and shade that on that edge a little bit, but I think my highlight might show up then. So I'll go a little bit brighter highlight on here. This one's not showing up too well either, so I might have to change the color of that one. Let me shade along that one real quick. Let's see, what color did I use? Antique white. See if I can get it done with this little bitty tiny brush. Oh, need a little bit more shading on that one side there. I can't see it. Okay, let's see if I can get a little highlight on that one now. I think once I apply it twice, I'll be able to see it. So I think it'll be all right. I'm gonna brush a little bit of white back in the center of these areas. Stay off of my shadow, but just in case my color got too far over, I can just clean that up a little bit. You want to make sure it stays white in here. You can go over that as many times as you want. That's not quite dry. The other thing that I did on the other cookies that I painted was to like reflect some of the light onto each other. So like some of this blue would reflect over here. I'll get my angle brush here. And you can take the base color or the shading color. You should have both on your palette. The shading color will probably show up a little bit better. So we can just put a little bit of, just a little wash of some color, you know, right next to it. And then this one over here, since I have this color already on my brush, this is the color that we used over here. Put some on the side. needs to be just a touch darker. You don't have to put tons of it in here, just a little bit. Okay, this green one, we'll do every other one right now and then we'll come back and do the other ones. Get the water on my brush here. So some green over here. Tap some in. I'm just taking the water edge of my brush and kind of smoothing that out. Got it out a little bit farther than what I want on the cookie. Okay, come around the brush so I can clean that off. That's not what I like right there. Let's keep it a little bit sheerer. This color's pretty dark. Here on this edge. Just a little bit. And then the sapphire. Put a little bit of this in here. Just remove that with my finger because it was too much, too dark, and I want to soften it down in there a little bit. Okay, then let's work our way back and do our lighter colors here. And this one is Antique White. Let's see if this is going to show up on here a little bit. This one is bleach sand, but our shading color is driftwood, so we'll go with driftwood. A little bit of driftwood on here. A little bit down here. That's a little dark, so let's thin that out a little bit. This one is Natural Buff with Fawn as our color. Okay, I think that's gonna get that on there. Let me intensify this highlight here. And this other one looks like it needs a little bit more. Alright, we gotta do some shading underneath these and maybe do a little bit of color around the edges. But I think they're looking pretty good. Some nice beachy like colors that go together there. Then we gotta put our Glamour Dust on. Okay, I think I'm gonna go with Sapphire Blue underneath all of our cookies, in between, darken those areas. Just try to stay off of your cookie. This is where you can shape the bottom part of the cookie up a little bit if you feel like it, the shape kind of got away from you. Make sure you have water in your brush when you're doing this so you can kind of move it around and pull it down where you want it to be. A little bit more paint on your brush when you're going up around this, because this will be darker areas there. Pull it out, smooth it out, blend it out. Okay, I've got paint way over too far on my brush, so let me reload. That looks pretty good on there, I think. Wide angle out a little bit. That's a little bit too dark on that one. Dampen it, erase a little bit of it back. The paint hasn't completely cured, so that's how we can still remove a little bit of paint if we need to. If I let it set for a couple hours, it is not coming off. But right now it's not gone to the cured all the way through state. But you have to be gentle and get it wet in order to do it. I really don't like this one at all. And erase it completely off and put it back on. I just want to take these down a little bit. I want them on there, I just don't want them to be quite so in your face. Okay, maybe we'll just leave that green one off of that one. Okay, I don't think I want to do any kind of color around the border of this piece. I think I want to leave it just like it is. I think it looks very beachy. So that's kind of the look I was going for, because even though I'm not using these colors in my ornaments, well, I am using one that's kind of cream colored like this. I'm using silver as my other. Oops, that's not what I want. I think they look good. Very nice. So I'm going to put some glitter on these. So let me get my brush. I'm going to grab my round brush. I'm going to use Glamour Dust Ice Crystal. And I think I'm just going to put this in the frosting area. So down the centers. It's just going to give it a little bit of sparkle. And I'll probably apply 3 coats on here. I like a lot of glingy glitter on mine. Blingy glitter. Say that 3 times. Really fast. Not gonna happen. Alrighty. All the way down, just the middles. These are gonna be so cool. I think they look yummy enough to eat, personally. So I'm gonna get that dry. I'm gonna get 2 more coats on there and we'll come back and see how it looks. Okay, I've got my 3 coats on. It's very hard to see the blingy blingy bling sometimes in the camera shot, so let me dim my lights and see if you can see it. A little bit of sparkle you can see on there. So super cool. I love it. Okay, so there we go. I think those cookies are done. Now, you know, like I said, it's up to you if you want to do, you know, an edging around this piece, because I normally do that kind of thing. Like on this one, I did soft black, I think, around it. So 2 different ways that you can do macarons, and I love them both. I think they both are great. These colors are vibrant and beautiful, and these are just soothing and calm and peaceful. So there you go. I think that you are going to love painting these. I can't wait to see what you do with them. Post pictures, send me comments. I appreciate every one of you. Give me a thumbs up if you are watching on YouTube, and I will see you guys on the next one.